The moment I stepped into the backyard for my grandson's birthday, I could tell something was off. Laughter echoed, balloons danced in the breeze, but my granddaughter, Emily, rushed to my side with panic in her eyes. "Grandpa, please, we have to leave. Now," she whispered, gripping my arm tightly. My brow furrowed. "What is it? What's wrong?" No time to explain. "Just trust me," she pleaded. That trust would end up saving me from a scheme I never thought my own son could be capable of. But before I get into that, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Now let me take you back a few days earlier, when this all began. It was a quiet Tuesday evening. I'd just finished reading the financial section and was nursing a cup of black coffee in my study when the front door burst open. "Dad, you need to hear me out before you say anything," my son, Blake, declared without knocking. His voice was rehearsed, as if he'd been practicing this conversation in the car outside. I folded my newspaper calmly and took off my glasses. "Well, good evening to you too, son. What's the big rush?" Blake was already pacing near my bookshelf. "This is it, Dad. The opportunity that's going to change everything. A real estate syndicate. Guaranteed returns." I got up and made my way to the cabinet where I stored documents related to his past endeavors. I pulled out a thick folder labeled Blake's Business Ventures, 2017-2025. "Guaranteed?" I asked dryly, spreading old contracts and statements on the coffee table. He nodded eagerly. 15, maybe even 20%. This one's real. Like the luxury apartments in Tampa were real? I slid a receipt across the table. "You remember that one? 70 grand, gone. 3 months later, foreclosure." His shoulders tensed. "And what about the crypto mining setup you never received? 50,000 to a company that vanished overnight?" "That was different," he muttered, lowering his gaze. "No, Blake. Then came the food truck business. $30,000, and your partner had a criminal record for embezzlement. That lasted all of 90 days. His lips thinned. "You just don't believe in me. Every time I try to build something, you shoot it down." I leaned back and crossed my arms. "I've believed, son, too many times. You want trust? Bring me something that holds up under scrutiny. Something real. I don't have the paperwork now, then I don't have money for you now." The silence stretched between us. Outside, the sky had deepened into early dusk. A dog barked somewhere in the neighborhood. Blake's hands clenched. "When this deal makes me rich, don't come begging for a cut." He grabbed his jacket and stormed out, the front door slamming hard enough to shake the windows. I watched from behind the curtain as he fumbled with his keys and peeled out of the driveway, tires squealing. I didn't move for a long time after the red taillights disappeared. The silence in the house felt louder than ever. Eventually, I wandered to the kitchen, the floor creaking under my steps. Making coffee always grounded me. The sound of grinding beans, the slow drip. It helped me think. In my study, I opened the cabinet once more. Each folder marked another painful chapter. Tampa condos, crypto disaster, food truck failure, casino debts. Every time Blake had a reason, an excuse, a promise to do better. He was different before he married Rachel. Back then, his ventures were small and manageable. But Rachel encouraged the big swings, the flashier risks. She liked things expensive, and Blake wanted to provide. I looked at a photo on my desk. Blake at 18, proud in his cap and gown. That was a different boy. A boy who worked hard, who earned what he had. Where did that boy go? I turned off the lamp and went upstairs. That night, I decided I wouldn't bankroll another failure. I would no longer trade my peace for his fantasies. The next morning, the sunlight spilled across the kitchen counter as I scribbled a grocery list. Yesterday's confrontation still echoed faintly in my mind, but I was determined not to let it ruin my day. I grabbed my keys and stepped outside. The scent of freshly cut grass filled the spring air, but halfway down the walkway, I stopped. My car didn't look right. The silver sedan leaned slightly, its frame unusually low. I walked closer and felt my stomach twist. All 4 tires were completely flat, not slowly deflated, sabotaged. There were tiny punctures near the sidewalls on every wheel, neat and precise. No coincidence. I crouched by the front tire and found the culprit. One of the roofing nails I kept in my own workshop, the kind I hadn't touched in weeks. I circled the car. 4 tires. 4 identical punctures. This wasn't mischief or accident. This was a message. I walked back into the house, picked up the phone, and called Blake. He answered groggily. "Dad, what's going on? It's not even 9 yet." "I found my car this morning," I said calmly. "All 4 tires, slashed." A pause. Then, "That's awful. Probably some kids messing around." "All 4 tires, Blake. Each one punctured with the exact same kind of roofing nail I have in my shed. This wasn't random." Another pause. Are you saying I had something to do with it?" His voice had that practiced hurt tone he used when trying to dodge guilt. I'd heard it before, after the gambling losses, the missed payments, the lies. "I'm just asking if you saw anything suspicious last night when you left." "I drove straight home, Dad. You know I'd never do something like that." "Of course. I mean it. Call the police, let them handle it." I ended the call with a vague, "I'll take care of it," and sat down at the table, my eyes still fixed on the image of those ruined tires. Had I misjudged him? Or had I once again given him more credit than he deserved? Later, the mechanic confirmed what I already knew. "Someone did this deliberately," he said. "Punctures are clean, all at the same angle. It's going to cost around $800 to fix." I returned home with a tow receipt, a turkey sandwich, and a headache. I tried to focus on the newspaper, but my mind kept drifting. Around noon, the phone rang. Blake. "Hey, Dad! How's your day going?" he asked, his tone far too cheerful. I raised an eyebrow. "Spent the morning at the tire shop." "Oh, right. That whole thing. Man, that really sucks." He brushed past the subject almost immediately. "But I've got good news. Tomorrow's my birthday, and Rachel's throwing a little dinner at the house. Just family, close friends. You're invited, 6 p.m. I blinked. After yesterday's argument and this morning's sabotage, I hadn't expected him to call, let alone invite me to celebrate. "Molly really wants you there," he added. "She asked for her grandpa." That made my heart soften a bit. My granddaughter had always been the bright spot in a family full of storm clouds. Of course I'll be there, I said. What should I bring? Just yourself. Rachel's taking care of everything. You'll love it. After I hung up, I sat quietly for a moment. Maybe this was Blake's way of extending an olive branch. Maybe I'd been too harsh. Maybe. I spent the rest of the afternoon looking for a gift. Something useful but thoughtful. A quality tool set, perhaps. Something he could use if he ever followed through on one of his plans. As I closed my laptop, I felt cautiously hopeful. Perhaps the birthday dinner would be the start of something better. Maybe family could still mean something. The next evening, right on time, my taxi pulled up in front of Blake's house. I stepped out with the gift tucked under my arm and walked up the familiar brick path. Even from the curb, I could hear the sound of laughter and clinking glasses drifting from the backyard. Blake opened the front door before I could knock, smiling like he hadn't a care in the world. "Dad, glad you made it. Come on in." The house was almost unrecognizable. New furniture, a chandelier I'd never seen before, and sleek decorations adorned every corner. It looked more like a high-end venue than a family home. "Happy birthday, son," I said, handing him the gift-wrapped tool set. His smile wavered slightly. "Thanks. This means a lot." "Glenn, so glad you could join us," Rachel chimed in, appearing in a gown that looked like it came straight off a fashion runway. She ushered me into the crowded living room. Dozens of people, well-dressed professionals, mingled with cocktails in hand, discussing market trends and investment portfolios. I didn't recognize a single one. Then, a voice I knew well rang out. "Grandpa!" Molly pushed through the crowd and hugged me tightly. "Good to see you, sweetheart," I said. "How's school?" "Finals next week," she sighed. "But I'm surviving." "Want something to drink? Dad got your favorite beer." Moments later, Blake returned with an imported bottle I hadn't seen since that pricey steakhouse dinner years ago. "Remember this? You ordered it in Portland." I nodded slowly. "Nice touch." We settled into dinner. The food was gourmet, the drinks expensive, the atmosphere extravagant. And none of it made sense. Blake had begged me for money just days ago. Where had all this come from? I leaned over to Rachel during the meal. "This must have cost a fortune." She laughed. "We've been saving for months. Blake deserves to be celebrated." But the numbers didn't add up. Designer clothes, catered food, top-shelf wine, new furniture. Where had they gotten the money? Still, the drinks kept coming, and the wine was good, too good. Rich, smooth, and flowing non-stop. Rachel appeared every time my glass was nearly empty. Blake hovered nearby, full of praise and charm. By the third hour, the party showed no signs of slowing down. I sank into a leather armchair in the corner, the hum of voices swirling around me. I felt relaxed, if a little fuzzy. That's when Blake appeared at my elbow. "Dad, want to see the upstairs? We renovated the master suite. Wait until you see the new bathroom." I blinked. "Right now?" "Yeah, come on. Just a quick tour." Before I could answer, Rachel joined him, smiling sweetly. "You'll love what we did. We spared no expense." There it was again. That phrase. No expense spared from people who had cried poverty just days ago. I started to stand when Molly appeared suddenly beside me. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with something I hadn't seen in her before. Fear. "Grandpa," she whispered urgently, "you have to leave. Right now." I frowned. "What?" "Please," she said again, her grip tight on my arm. "Something's not right. Just trust me." I hesitated. Blake stepped closer, laughing awkwardly. "Molly, what are you talking about? Grandpa was just about to see the new suite." "No, he wasn't," she said firmly, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. "Grandpa, get your coat." My instincts, dulled by the wine but sharpened by decades in business, suddenly came alive. Blake's forced smile, Rachel's hovering presence, Molly's urgency. Something was wrong. "I think I'll take her advice," I said quietly, standing up. "It's getting late anyway." Rachel's expression darkened just slightly. "But we haven't cut the cake yet." "We'll do it another time." I walked toward the door. Blake moved to block me. "Dad, don't be ridiculous. She's just stressed about exams." Molly's eyes were pleading now, glistening with tears. That was all the confirmation I needed. "Thanks for the party," I said calmly, grabbing my jacket. "I'll call you tomorrow." I stepped outside, the night air clearing the last of the wine from my mind. As I waited for a taxi, I glanced back toward the house. Molly stood behind the window, her hand pressed against the glass, her eyes watching me with relief. Whatever was planned tonight, I was lucky to have escaped. But I needed answers, and I knew who to ask. As the taxi pulled away from Blake's house, I fumbled for my phone, heart pounding. Streetlights cast streaks of shadow across the back seat while I tried to steady my breath. I called Molly. She picked up on the first ring. "Grandpa, are you okay? Did you get out?" "I'm in the cab now," I said. "What was going on back there? Why did you stop me?" A pause. Then the faint sound of a door closing, muffling the background noise. "I overheard Mom and Dad yesterday," she whispered. "They were planning something. Something about getting you to sign over your company." I sat up straighter. "What?" "They said they'd get you drunk during the party, then bring in some lawyers upstairs. Mom said that once you'd had a few drinks, you'd be confused enough to sign whatever they gave you." I felt like someone had punched the air out of my lungs. "Are you sure?" "There were people upstairs, Grandpa. I don't know who, but they were waiting. Mom kept checking her watch all evening. Dad kept trying to steer you toward the stairs." The whole evening, the wine, the charm, the constant attention, it all clicked into place. They weren't celebrating me. They were staging a takeover. My jaw tightened. Did they say anything else? "Only that you were being selfish. That Dad deserved the business more than you. Mom said it was the only way forward." So that was it. They hadn't just wanted a loan. They wanted everything. The company, the assets, the name I'd built for 40 years. And they'd tried to get it through lies and manipulation. "Molly," I said carefully, "you can't let them know we talked." I told them I didn't know anything. Said I just thought it was too late to stay, and that I was worried about neighborhood crime. Smart girl. "Promise me you'll be careful." "I promise, but..." "What if they try something else? They won't get another chance. You saved me tonight, sweetheart. I won't forget it." As we turned onto my street, I saw Mrs. Hargrove, my neighbor, sitting out on her porch, knitting as usual. Her calm presence made the world feel normal again, at least for a moment. I'm home now. We'll talk again soon. I love you, Grandpa. I love you too, Molly. After I hung up, I stepped out of the cab and up to my front door. My hands were still shaking slightly, from adrenaline or rage. I couldn't tell. "Evening, Charles," came a voice from across the hedge. It was Mrs. Hargrove. "Evening, Martha," I replied, trying to compose myself. "You're out late tonight." "Birthday party at Blake's," I said, unlocking the door. "I saw your new tires. Those look expensive." I turned. "How did you know about the tires?" She stood slowly, setting her yarn aside. "Well, I was sitting out here the other night. Tuesday, I think. You know how I like the air. I saw Blake walk around your car. He was holding something, checking each tire." I froze. "You saw that?" "Yes." He knelt beside each one, looked around like he didn't want to be seen. I thought about saying something earlier, but, well, it's family. It's delicate. My heart pounded. "You're sure it was him?" "Charles, I've known your boy since he was in diapers. It was him. Right after I heard shouting from your house. So it hadn't been paranoia. Blake had slashed my tires, then invited me into his home to trap me into signing everything away. Calculated, cold, premeditated. Martha, thank you. This confirms everything." "I didn't want to interfere," she said gently. "But you deserve to know. What he did, it's not right." "No, it isn't." I walked inside and locked the door behind me. Then I turned on every light in the house. My home, my company, my life's work. He tried to take it all. But now that I knew what he was capable of, it was time to fight back. The next morning, gray clouds loomed over the neighborhood. The kind of sky that matched my mood, cold, heavy, and unyielding. I sat at the kitchen table with a mug of coffee and a yellow legal pad. The betrayal still stung, but now it had hardened into something sharper. Strategic focus. Blake had declared war on me, and I was going to respond with everything I'd learned in 4 decades of business. I moved to my study and pulled out the cabinet containing years of Blake's ventures. Each manila folder was a record of another disaster. The Tampa condo scam, the cryptocurrency mining that never materialized, the food truck partnership with a man on probation for embezzlement. This time, I wasn't going to lecture him. I was going to expose him. Blake had made 3 fatal mistakes. First, he thought I wouldn't fight back. Second, he forgot I had records, signed, dated, and thorough, of every scheme he'd ever pitched. Third, he underestimated the people he'd burned along the way. There were others who'd invested in his disasters, people who had trusted him because he was my son. Marcus Thompson had put $25,000 into the condos. David Ramos lost $35,000 in the crypto scheme. Jennifer Liu sank $20,000 into the food truck co before Blake's partner vanished. These people weren't just names. They were pillars of the local business community. Chamber members, investors, advisors. I sorted the documents into 3 packets. Each one included contracts, emails, bank transfers, proof of Blake's pattern of mismanagement and deception. No accusations, no drama, just facts. I included a cover letter. For your review, attached are records regarding past investments involving Blake Saunders. Please evaluate them as you see fit. Then I arranged for same-day delivery via a private courier service. I paid in cash and requested anonymity. By the time Friday's business day ended, 3 influential people would have everything they needed to see Blake for who he really was. At 3:15, the courier left my driveway. At 3:17, my phone rang. It was Blake. I let it ring. At 3:30, another unknown number. I ignored it too. Let the evidence do the talking. That night, I sat in the study with a quiet satisfaction as the clock ticked toward evening. The first move had been made. The first truth had landed, and it wouldn't be the last. By Monday morning, the fallout had begun. I hadn't even finished my first cup of coffee when the phone rang again. This time it wasn't Blake. It was Marcus. "Charles," he said cautiously, "I received something over the weekend. I assume you know what I'm talking about?" "I do," I replied simply. There was a pause. "You didn't write your name on anything, but the records were detailed, accurate." I thought the truth deserved to be seen. "Blake used your name to gain our trust," Marcus said quietly. "Now we know better." By 10 o'clock a.m., I'd had similar calls from David and Jennifer. All 3 confirmed they'd spoken to one another. The pieces were falling into place. Blake's image in the local business circle, what little he had left, was in ruins. Phase 1. Complete. Now it was Rachel's turn. While Blake had played the role of reckless dreamer, Rachel had been the strategist. The birthday party trap? That had her fingerprints all over it. She worked as a financial advisor at a boutique firm, Pinnacle Strategic Wealth. Her job required absolute integrity and ethical conduct, so I gathered what I needed: invoices for the party, liquor receipts, lists of attendees, and financial records showing luxury purchases far beyond their declared income. Then I drafted an anonymous letter to Pinnacle's HR department. As someone familiar with Meredith Saunders' conduct outside the office, I believe it's important to share evidence suggesting she may have participated in an attempt to manipulate and defraud a vulnerable family member. Enclosed are documents outlining questionable financial behavior and a potential abuse of professional trust. No threats, no demands, just evidence. Another courier, another cash payment. Delivery confirmed by noon. By Tuesday morning, Rachel's firm would be investigating her professional ethics. The next 24 hours passed quietly. Too quietly. I spent most of Tuesday reading in my study, letting the storm gather strength around them. And then, mid-afternoon, the sound of a car skidding into my driveway shattered the silence. Doors slammed. Heavy footsteps stomped toward the house. Blake and Rachel burst into my living room like a pair of storm clouds, flushed, breathless, and angry. "You've gone too far," Blake growled. "We know what you've been doing," Rachel added, standing stiffly beside him. I folded the newspaper calmly and gestured to the couch. "Sit down." They didn't. You ruined my professional reputation, Rachel snapped. You sent that report to my firm. HR's investigating me. And you destroyed my reputation with every investor I've ever spoken to, Blake added. Do you even care what you've done? I leaned forward slowly. I didn't fabricate anything. I shared facts, your facts. You betrayed us. Rachel's eyes burned. No, I said firmly. You betrayed me. You conspired to take everything I built. I know about the lawyers upstairs. I know about the documents. And I know what you were planning. Blake's face went pale. You talked to Molly. She saved me, I said, pulling out the folder I'd prepared. And Mrs. Hargrove saw you slashing my tires. Rachel's jaw clenched. Blake sat down heavily, deflated. You think you're punishing us? Rachel spat. You're tearing your own family apart. No, I'm protecting what's left of it. Blake's voice cracked. We just wanted a chance. You had 100 chances, I said, and you tried to steal one more. I stood. This conversation is over. Your consequences are yours alone. You earned them. They left without another word. I watched them go, not with anger anymore, but with clarity. They made their move. I made mine. Now we'd see who was still standing. The house was quiet after they left, eerily so. I stood in the same spot where Blake had shouted, where Rachel had accused, surrounded now by nothing but silence and the ticking of the clock on the mantel. But inside me, there was no silence. There was resolve. I sat back at my desk, fingers steepled beneath my chin, and considered what came next. My son and his wife had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed, and it wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about principle. For 40 years, I'd poured my sweat into the company. I'd survived recessions, labor shortages, price wars, and competitors trying to undercut me at every turn. I built something real from nothing, and Blake thought he could take it with a signature and a glass of wine. No. Now it was time to make sure he couldn't hurt anyone else again. I opened a new folder. Restitution strategy. Step 1 was community damage control. I drafted a letter, formal but heartfelt, addressed to the 3 investors who had received the evidence packages. I deeply regret that Blake's actions have affected your trust in our family. Please know that I was unaware of the extent of his misconduct until recently. The documents I sent were not meant as a personal attack, but as a public service to protect others. If I can help restore what was lost, financially or reputationally, I am at your disposal. I printed each letter, hand-signed them, and scheduled private meetings with Marcus, David, and Jennifer for the following week. This was not just about exposing Blake. It was about mending the trust he'd broken under my name. Step 2 was asset protection. I contacted my attorney to begin restructuring the ownership of my company, transferring partial shares into a legally protected trust that would eventually pass to Molly, not Blake. The trust included stipulations requiring ethical behavior, educational completion, and board oversight. No shortcuts, no tricks. Step 3 was a quiet but final act of severance. I visited the office the next morning and removed Blake's keycard access. His name was erased from all shared files and future communication threads. I instructed HR to redirect any inquiries about him to legal. Then I called Molly. She answered on the first ring, as always. "Hi, Grandpa. Are you okay?" "I am now," I said gently. "But I need to talk to you about something important." I invited her over that evening. We sat in the study, the same place where so much of this had unfolded. She listened quietly as I laid out everything, my plans, the trust, the future of the company. And then I told her the most important part. "I want you to have a say in how this company evolves. One day, it will be yours, but only if you want it." She blinked, stunned. "You're serious?" "I've never been more serious. You showed more integrity in a single moment than your parents have in years. You protected me. You stood up for what was right, even though it must have terrified you. That's the kind of character a real leader needs." Tears welled in her eyes. "I don't even know what to say." "Say you'll think about it. That's all." She nodded. "I will." That night, as I sat alone in the study, with the lights low and the soft hum of the house around me, I realized something profound. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something better. The past week had stripped away illusions, exposed betrayal, and forced me to confront hard truths. But in doing so, it had also revealed something worth fighting for: honesty, legacy, and a future carried by someone who deserved it. Molly, my granddaughter. The only one who remembered what family really meant. As the night deepened outside and the town settled into sleep, I turned off the desk lamp, walked upstairs, and let the darkness wrap around me, not as a threat, but as a rest earned after a long and righteous war. If you appreciated this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you're ready for another story of family, betrayal, and redemption, click the next box on your screen. Thank you for listening.